we're here, and you released a new album, a new EP called 6 Songs from Insomnia. So like the title seems to suggest, how did they come about? Did you write them because you couldn't sleep?
That's just my natural tendency. I've always had a difficulty falling asleep. I mean, I wouldn't call it insomnia actually, but I like listening to music or listening to or like watching movies or whatever the content when I try to fall asleep. Because when I don't and I'm just like sitting in silence just trying to fall asleep, I start to hear things. Like I was raised in a household where there's my dad had a business, like a knitting business, and there was like a big machines in the basement of our house that would just keep going.
24 hours?
Not all night, but like late enough for me to basically kind of be aware of the noise while I was trying to fall asleep, or like what I was, as I was like kind of falling into sleep. So maybe that had a lot to do with it. And I've always had a hard time shutting my brain down when it's like really quiet. When it's quiet, I start to hear things, I start to think about things. And that's when I come up with musical ideas, or sometimes lyrical ideas.
Can't keep on messing with your head in my head. Neither can I keep quiet instead. Same old story, just not the one I've read. Wanna shine, wanna shine.
It's natural for me to just kind of write
Late at night?
Late at night when I'm trying to fall asleep. And it wasn't like, the title actually came at the last minute. Like I wasn't even gonna call it that. But I was looking at the song list and I was like, oh shit.
In the creation of some of these songs where you were actually ready to go to bed and then you actually got up and then wrote the song?
Sometimes, I bet. When I was younger, I would do stuff like that, just get up and just like start working on songs, because like it's in my head, so like I gotta write it down, or I didn't probably write it down because I taught myself, anything about music I basically taught myself. So I'm starting to actually get into writing notations and stuff these days.
Musical notation?
Yeah. Trying to read much faster and all that stuff. But back then I really couldn't, so I basically had to turn on the computer. We didn't have the cell phones to like just record ideas right there and then. So like I would turn on the computer, set up the microphone.
Oh, right.
And start like making beats or whatever back then. Right now, what I do is, because of the technologies, I can just like make a musical memo of whatever, like write it down, just sing into a phone or whatever. I try not to do, because I just have too much to do during the day.
Right.
So I have to fall asleep.
So you did that for this album? Like you have actual recordings of yourself on the phone humming melodies that appeared on this record?
I have to go back and look at it. Okay. I don't know.
Oh, you're just talking sort of in general?
In general,
Okay.
I mean, the songs specific to this particular batch, I think, come from all over the place. Musical ideas a lot of times come when I can't like shut out the noises in my head or like around me. For this batch, it could have come from when I was traveling too. That's what I loved about traveling, is that like I traveled by myself. I was in Southeast Asia 3 years straight. I mean, I spent about maybe 4 to up to 9 weeks in the surrounding regions, just going through different places that I've always wanted to travel. And you know, either you're flying, or I was in a I was on a train for 8 hours in Indonesia, and you know, I might have had like earbuds to kind of listen to, but I just a lot of times would just sit in a train, just looking at the, you know, sceneries and all that stuff, and I would just write.
Can't help but stare at your hand in my hand. We both know it's a risky game. At least one of us will get hurt. In the end, who's to blame? Who's to blame?